almost gave up on this stream. Almost. I got really, really close because Flight Sim literally took 27.5 minutes to launch. And it's not like I don't know these things. I know that Flight Sim is bad. So I test everything 2 hours before the stream. Everything works perfectly. Get on the stream. I launched Flight Sim half an hour before the stream was ready to go live. Went, set up lights, had a shower, everything came back all good. Try to change the time in the sim, crashes to desktop, takes another 30 minutes to open. So I nearly gave up, but we're back, and the reason we're back is the aircraft. So Flight Sim has loads of issues, but from what I've seen, um, Aerosoft has done a really, really good job on this aircraft. So that is why I'm back. It's because I want to see just how good this aircraft is, and how it works, and how it flies and all of that good stuff. So that is why I persevered, and I've eventually got Flight Sim to work. And that's the plan. We're going to take the Aerosoft CRJ down from Tambo to East London. So if I could also just find the stream so that I can watch it back, for some reason it doesn't appear to exist. When I see it. But anyway, I've fought Flight Sim for the last hour. We're literally 54 minutes after we should have started streaming, and it seems to be working. I hope, because it also broke my camera, which didn't want to work. So if my camera disappears halfway through the show, I don't know why. It just doesn't want to play nicely with Flight Sim running. So we'll see how this goes. Right. I can't find my own stream on YouTube though for some reason. YouTube doesn't seem to think I'm live. Right, so I haven't flown this aircraft before. This is going to be the first time I'm flying it. So you guys are going to get to see from scratch my first attempt at getting in this aircraft and getting it up and running. And, oh, that's why you can't see this. Right, there we go. That's sorted now. So this is going to be my first time flying this aircraft. I did do the initial loading and everything, get it up and running, and I did calibrate my throttle. That's all I've done so far. So I'm actually going to be going through the checklist and everything step by step to make sure, well, not necessarily the checklist, I'm actually going to go through the operations manual step by step as we're doing this to make sure we get everything right. Now, I did have the Aerosoft CRJ for FSX, so I do kind of know my way around the cockpit already fairly well, I guess, of the CRJ because I've flown it quite a bit in FSX. So other than that, let's jump into it. So, first things first, we are doing a very early morning flight here. So we're starting off early in the morning. We should see the sun coming up over there in about half an hour or so, probably. Let's go and power this up, and then we can get stuff loaded on to the aircraft. We've got our checklists here, which I'm probably not going to use because I have them on my iPad in front of me. It's just a lot easier to look there. We've got all of our weight and balance stuff over here. Right, so this is what I want to do. Let's open up for the passengers. Guardrails up, that's perfect. Chocks are in place. We can open up cargo doors. We do need, obviously, the cabin lights can come on. I'm going to turn this up. There we go. Ground air cart we don't need, but we do need ground power. Service door can open. We are cold and dark. There we go. Right, maintenance. I don't think we need to do anything here because we haven't broken it yet. There's no issues with brakes or IDGs or anything like that. And options, I did the throttle calibration and I did have a look at some of this and everything seems to be fine. So, what I do need to do is sort out our flight plan. So I'm going to use SimBrief to do this. Right, so we are SA Express, call sign is 1324. We're going from Joburg to East London. Now, SA Express at the moment doesn't actually exist anymore. Well, sort of. They did kind of close down, and then I think they were bought by someone else, but they aren't operating yet. I don't know. But anyway, we're flying for SA Express because they're the only operator at the moment who flies the CRJ in South Africa. So we are a CRJ-700ER. Right. And very, very simple route we have today. Right, I'm just going to generate this flight plan, and then we're going to enter these waypoints manually into our FMC on the aircraft. We're not going to just load a company plan. We're going to actually go through it so we know how all of that works. So let me just export this flight plan, and I'll bring it up on my iPad in front of me, and I'll enter in my waypoints from there. Okay, so that is done. We should be good to go. What I do need to find from that is, I think we'll probably set our weight and balance stuff first before we get going. Right, so our flight plan is our Tambo to East London, which is going to be this guy here. All right, so fuel for today, we need 4,614. So we'll make that 4,650. I think it'll probably be the closest we can get to. Can I just enter this on the scratch pad? What is the scratch pad for? Ooh, okay, it does work. Right, so let's do 4,650. Come on. Oh, there we go. 4,650. As you can see, this is the first time I've ever actually interacted with this aircraft, so it's going to be a little bit of figuring things out. I really like that you have the numbers on the FSX version. You had to just use the arrows, which was a little bit clunky, so I like that you can just type directly in. Okay, passengers. On board, we have 78. And cargo payload, let's have a look at this. Our zero fuel weight is 28.0. Our zero fuel weight is currently 25, so we're going to have to put some cargo on it. And just try and keep that in the middle. So 28.2 is our max. Oops. 28.2 is our maximum. Oh no, I'm putting in fuel. What a potato. What was our fuel now? 4,650. Okay, I wanted to be adding this. I can't actually add any more than that. Oh, our passengers have gone back down. Okay, so max zero fuel weight, 28. Our current zero fuel weight is 27. So it seems like the SimBrief figures might be a little bit off, which I have found before. So we'll go with that. We're slightly lighter than we actually plan to be. Let's set payload, and I think that's all we have to do. And we'll come and sort out takeoff and landing speeds later on. Right. Let's now start going through our setup. So our first checklist is safety check. So we're going to make sure circuit breakers. Now, I don't know. I don't think they are modeled. They aren't. But what we would, in theory, do is just come along here and have a look down the lines, make sure that none of these circuit breakers are sticking up on both sides. So that's not actually modeled. We don't need to worry too much about that. Nose wheel steering is down here somewhere, and that needs to be off. What I think we should actually do is get some lights on in here. The flashing from the ground card is actually really distracting. But I guess we have to kind of do this before we switch anything on. So nose wheel steering is disconnected. All the hydraulic pumps should be off. Okay, so that appears to be off. That's on, so that's off. Oh, they were all off. Daddy. Right, in the middle position, that's all off. Perfect. Okay, landing gear lever should be up, obviously. Not up. Down, obviously, because we're on the ground, and it is. Spoiler, that's down. Go, just sync that with my joystick. Slats and flaps are up. Radar is off. That's not simulated anyway. ADG manual release should be stowed, which it is. It's flat. Emergency flap switch is here. Should be set to normal, which it is. Then we can start powering up. So battery master switch, which is this guy at the top, can come on. And then we can start up the APU. So we also want, let's see what they say here. We also want this DC switch on, and we'll select that for APU and start it up. Right, so that is starting up. That's perfect. Let's see, how do we get some lights? That says overhead, home light. Suppose we have to wait for the APU to actually engage for those lights to come on, I'm guessing. Should also have lights down here. I thought dome light would at least have come on. Oh, that down is on. Does that give us a bit more light? These lights are now on. Okay, that is giving a little bit of light. Okay, that is better. I can't see what's going on. Yeah, it was an absolute nightmare, Kelly. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know, Flight Sim is just... Yeah, it is what it is, but wanted to try this really cool aircraft because nothing to do with Aerosoft. It's just Flight Sim. It took 27 minutes to open. So we're trying out Aerosoft's really cool aircraft, and I'm loving it so far. All I've done is switch it on, but it is really cool already. Okay. APU is now started. So we then want to align our navigation, which is down here. Let's flip this handle up. And both of those can be set to nav. That's perfect. Emergency equipment, we would make sure we've got all of our emergency equipment. I don't know, axes and fire extinguishers and stuff, I guess. All aircraft have emergency equipment. Oxygen masks, swim vests, a rope to leave the cockpit. But anyway, that's not simulated. Gear and safety pins, we would check that those are on board. Those aren't simulated either. Aircraft documents, we have our flight plan in front of us. We have our checklist, and we have our, what do you call it? Operations manual. So we've got the documents that we need, which I've now just completely destroyed by skipping miles ahead of where I was. Now I don't know what page I was on. Going well. Okay, we've done this. Right, so there's our safety check. We did all of that stuff. Batteries are on. Okay, so we are here. We've just checked our documents. Perfect. How do I get lights on this section? Here we go. That's way better. That's actually going to do anything for us. It's just down there by your feet. Oh, we'll put the lights on because they look nice. It hasn't lit up anything here, so I'm still thinking there must be lights down here somewhere. There we go. Slowly but surely, I mean, it's probably been 3 or 4 years since I flew the CRJ in FSX, so I'm slowly just starting to remember where things are in the aircraft, but it looks really cool. Right, that's better. Now we can see what's going on. Okay, so we've done documents. So next thing, hydraulic 3A. Right. We leave off for now. That's fine. Oh no, we turn on. Okay, so hydraulic 3A can come on. Like so. Now we can go and sort out our FMS. Right, so that all looks good. That nav data is a bit behind, but we'll have to update that. Did you deal with the technical issues with patience and a smile? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, something like that. I always keep going down here for our next and previous page because of all the other aircraft. Right, let's grab our GPS position. Stick that in. We'll tell the aircraft that we are at. Where are we? Oh, our Tambo. I don't actually know what gate we're at. I don't think this has a number because we're actually parked. Have a look on this side. So the terminal is actually down here. We're parked on this side. I did think we were parked on that side. But this would be like probably like Charlie 25 or something. No labels. So I'm not 100% sure. So we'll leave that out. I think now it's a good time to go and put in our flight plans. I need to remember how this works. Right. So we're going from Tambo down to East London. And if I bring up my flight plan, we can have a look. Very simple flight plan today. Where do I put in? Okay, so there. So our first point is at that. So, right, and then we go attack by UQ7. Oops, no mistake. Do not clear that. UQ7 to X. Xoxy. And then from there, direct to East London. So that's our very short flight plan. So we'll stick that in. And let's set up our departure. So we're departing 03 left. We'll do APDAC 3 Alpha. We can execute that. That looks not perfect, but we'll see how that turns out. And our arrival is runway 29. So I'm going to keep going there for the next page down on this side. And we'll do vectors. That's exactly what we want. Right, let's have a look at the next page. Go direct to the beginning of the ILS approach. That looks a bit strange. So let's see what's going on there. So that is SV06, so it's that intercept that it's not drawing a line, but we'll see how it flies. Right. What else do we need to put in here? I think... Geez, I got such a bad... That was my phone that just decided to fall over. Right. I didn't panic. It's fine. Everything's going to be okay. Okay, I think we'll leave the FMS for now. Let's get the rest of our setup ready. Okay, emergency light switch is here, so that should be armed. We'll turn on no smoking and seatbelt signs to auto. I don't like that it scrolls when you're using the mouse wheel to change the switches. Didn't that time, right? Okay. Perfect. That's done. Right. Internal and external checks done. Pedals and seat. Harness. Let's adjust our seats. I don't have a harness, but I do have a headphone cable which gets in my way, so that's out of the way. Oxygen. I wonder if we can test the oxygen in this one. Hey, there we go. You can. There's something else you're supposed to be able to click. It's this. There we go. Okay, so oxygen is tested. Audio warning panel. That's on this side somewhere. It's these two, I think. Audio warning. Check that both are guarded, which they are. That's perfect. Zoo has scattered. Yeah, they probably would have. Right, electrical power panel. All generator switches, auto. That's off. That's auto. Perfect. RDG disconnect switches, all guarded. Where are those? That's these guys. So there's the little guard there. So that is done. DC service switch should be off. Yeah, I turned that on. The battery master is on. Oh, I did just realize I connected the APU and then didn't actually use it. I mean, not the APU. I connected the GPU and didn't actually use it. So we probably should take that. Maybe I'm just bad. Oh, but we should be on APU, I'm guessing, because that is set to APU. Oh, need to remember. Okay. Fire detection and fire monitor. So press the switch for 2 seconds. And we need our... this guy... screen. Oops. Right, so let's make sure that this... oh, sorry, not that screen. It's actually this one. Fire test. Oh, that's parking brake. It should say fire test somewhere. Is it on this side? I don't actually know if I'm still holding it. Seems like it. It should be on this side. I don't see anything. Fire system. Okay, perfect. Right, that's done. Okay, external lights. So, nav light we can turn on. Same with logo, and we'll turn on the wing lights just to give us a little bit more conspicuously. Landing lights are all off. The rest can stay off. That's perfect. Fuel panel. Don't think we need to do anything there. Ensure that all fuel pumps are switched off, which is indicated by all lights being on. Right, where is our fuel section? That's here. All lights should be off. So not the boost pumps, it's just these. That's perfect. Feed air panel, which is here. So, wing AI, so wing anti-ice crossbleed. I don't know what that noise was. Wing anti-ice crossbleed, where is that? That's this one. It should be set to normal. Perfect. Bleed valves auto, yes. Isolation switch open. Feed source switch, both engines set. APU panel as required, so our APU is on. Okay, both engine switches, engine start switches should be off, which they are. Continuous switches, which is just this one, should be off. Okay, hydraulics. Only 3A is on, which looks correct. Perfect. Right. ELT switch should be on. Where is that? I don't see the ELT switch. can't remember where that is. It's on the overhead panel. Maybe it's... Oh, it's right here in the middle. That should be not on. It should be on. Perfect. A cabin pressure panel, which is this one at the top. All we have to do is set the landing elevation. Now, how on earth are we going to do that? Because we have to look down here. First off, what is the elevation of East London? That is the first question. East London. Let me double check. Should tell me here. Right, so I'm just bringing up my charts for East London, and we'll double check the elevation now. Don't know, we can't. Seem to be a way to pop these screens out, so we're gonna have to adjust that knob up there while looking at that screen. So this is going to be fairly interesting. I think this one's probably about 100 feet while these charts are open. So we can kind of see that that's 140, 160. So ADL. Elevation 435 feet. So it's a bit higher than I thought. So we'll do 435, so 440 is the closest. That is perfect. While I'm here, let's import our flight plan from SimBrief into Navigraph. So we have our flight plan. Let that load up. Right, so the cabin pressure is set. We've set our landing elevation. It's perfect. Air conditioning panel. We need to make sure the pack switches are set to auto. So I'm guessing we need to actually push those on. That'll be the auto position. We can hear the air conditioning starting to pump through the aircraft now. Recirculation fan should be on. That one. Temperature control mode auto. That. Don't see that one. That is C. Oh, it's these two. That's manual and auto, so it's on auto already. Perfect. Okay, RAM air switch should be off and guarded, which it is. Wing and cowl anti-ice switches off. Yeah, wing and cowl all off. Perfect. Right, now windshield heating left and right. Perfect. Emergency lights are armed. Standby compass is there. Yes. Please check that the indicated heading on the standby compass agrees with the actual aircraft. That's showing 30 degrees. Our aircraft is showing 29. So I would say that that agrees because that could be slightly off 30. Right. That's I'm happy with. Okay. Stall test. Where are those? Oh, those are actually down here. On the pilot side panel. This side. Install pusher. They are here. Oh, make sure that this is on. Yes. And what was the other thing? This guy. So install. Make sure that that's working, which it is. Perfect. Okay, install system tested. No, I don't know why it keeps putting me on that side of the thing. Nose wheel steering is off. And we've set up all of our displays. We do need to set our QNH. So QNH today, let's look on the stream, is 1025 Johannesburg. So let's go and dial that in down here. Scrolling simulator. Right, there's 1025. That is set. That all looks good, right. Then, instrument panels all look good, everything's on, and nothing looks correct. That's all makes perfect sense. The anti-skid should be armed, which it is. Main landing gear bay overheat. Switch to overheat and hold.
Overheat.
That's tested. And the warning fail. That's tested as well. Perfect. FMS we'll come back to later. Otherwise, everything looks good so far. I'm skipping through some of the stuff. Tests and things that we would necessarily need to do, otherwise this is going to take. Right, throttles should be all the way down. Idle. Perfect. Reverser switches both on, which we definitely need those in East London. And these should be, sorry, not idle, they should be in shuttle. That's correct. Right, next thing is our TCAS, which is down here. So let's put in our code. Our code is normally wait 3, 2, 4 is what I use when there's no ATC to assign us one. That's perfect. Okay, and IRS are already set to nav. We can set our stab trim and marker trim on. That light goes out. Fantastic. And your damper, we can engage those. These should all be down or otherwise set to normal. Right, now we can do our before start check. So let's come back on this side and close these doors up. And dump the ground power.
Cabin is secure. All passengers are aboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us.
That's
Before
rude.
takeoff,
That's all
we would like
closed.
to encourage all
We can
passengers
remove
to
the
watch our
chocks.
cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft.
Okay, wheel chocks are removed. All the doors closed. Air and ground power removed. Service door closed. Right. Okay, passenger signs are on. Landing elevation is set. boost pumps we need to turn on now. So on those two. Altimeters are set. Right, so then we're just going through double checking, done everything for the FMS. So we've done our alignment, we've entered our airports, we've entered our route. What else do we need to do? I think that's it. Right, we do need to do performance though. So let's go to the performance page. And performance visualization. Right, cruise altitude for today is, let's check the flight plan, 36,000. That seems quite high, but we'll go with it. Let's see how we do. Passengers on board, we have 78. Okay. Oh, it wants us to enter their weight as well. Yeah, so passengers. Oh, we can actually just send this from our EFB. It should populate there. And okay, that's great. That's all done. That makes things quicker. Right, I think we are ready to start up our engines. What we should do is just set these up. This is going to take these to dial up to 36,000 feet. Oh my word. Okay, no, it does speed up. Okay, but now I need you to go back to hundreds. There we go. Okay, 36,000. We should also set this up. So we'll do flaps 8, runways dry. We can set all of those takeoff speeds, which should populate them down here. That's great. We can set this to, we'll do 245 to stay below 240 knots. Then, so takeoff data set. Doors are all closed. Right, let's turn the beacon light on. Okay, so we're getting close to starting. Turn the beacon on. Fuel pumps, no lights. Okay, hydraulic pumps, we can now set all to auto. Perfect. Parking brake is set. Right, engine start. So, first off, we'll start engine 2. But, what we do need to do is start Right, let's see if they're going to listen to this. Ground. Nope. It's a ground. Oh. Not set. Boy. Hey Callum, welcome back. Nice to see you again. We are back in Flight Sim 2020. Enable voice. There we go. Just had an update the other day. Right, now they should listen. Cockpit to ground. No. One click on that window. It's ground.
Go ahead, flight tech.
We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Okay, let's release the brakes.
Pushing back.
Very quick pushback. Okay. Now, oh yeah, I also need to steer the pushback. Not exactly listening, is it? Going back to 0. Yeah, if I do it like that, does mean I have to hold my rudders all the time. A little bit annoying. Probably should have stopped at that first line. That's fine, we'll push back to the second one. And that should stop pushback.
Pushback complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Brake set. Set the brake right. No, actually, set. It says pull and turn. I mean, how do I do that with the mouse? Interesting. Okay. Can't set the parking brakes. That's going to be interesting when we try and start the engine. Why are we moving again? Okay, Pushback Express freaking out. Okay. Okay, now we can set the Anyway, moving on. Get rid of that mic. Okay. How do we start the engines? Okay, so on the overhead panel, so we'll start engine 2 first. Click the start button. Then we wait for 20% N2. So we're at 9. Then we click this little lever at the bottom and move the throttle up, if I remember correctly. Okay, so there's 20%. That should set the throttle to idle. And our engines should power up. That looks and sounds good.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention as we display the safety features and procedures of the aircraft in case of an emergency. During an emergency, please remain in your seats with your seatbelts fastened and your seats in the upright position. In case of a drop in cabin pressure, breathing masks will drop from the ceiling and should be placed over your head.
So that's engine 2 done.
If there is
Let's
smoke in the cabin
start up
during the
engine 1.
evacuation of the aircraft, the walkway emergency lights will display
And
to
we'll
the
do the same, we'll wait
exits
for
which are
20%.
located here.
Let's see what it
and here.
says.
In case of an extreme emergency landing, you will be instructed to get into the brace position, which is executed by placing your head between your knees with your hands over your
That
head.
looks better.
We would also like to remind you that
Do
you
not
can turn
accelerate
off
the
all
engine
electronic
until the
devices.
oil pressure is in the
We thank you
normal
for paying
operating
attention
range.
during this brief presentation.
I'm not going to see oil pressure here. This. That's all in the greens. Good. Right, let's make sure generator 1 and 2 are auto, which we already did earlier. That's perfect. Lead valves and packs should all be auto. Anti-ice not required probes. These guys on. Also on nose wheel steering. Right, all of our warnings have disappeared, which is great news. On the nose wheel steering. This can come back. Stats. We can also now shut down you. Okay, taxi check. Flaps we need to set to 8. There's 1, 8. That's perfect. Flight controls chair. Oh, does all appear to be responding. Right, trims. We need to check here for our trim. Takeoff trim 7.2. So we need to set it. Okay, sure. So we want 7.2. So we'll just set that over there. So 7.2. Perfect. Thrust reversers are armed. We did that earlier. Instruments all look good. Otherwise, everything looks good. Brake temperature, we don't have any issues because it's the first flight. Let's get taxi. Why it jumps to that side of the cockpit every time? Reset my view. We'll live with it, I guess. Okay, disconnect the brakes. Now, does this roll on its own like it did in FSX? It doesn't. I have to give it a bit of power. Yeah, fuel trucks, as usual, doing weird things. So it doesn't like my rudder controls on my throttle. Just use the twist on my joystick. That seems to be okay, so I'll play with that. Figure out why it doesn't like that. All the other aircraft are right with that. So I've got a little axis on my throttle that I use so I can steer with my thumb for the tiller rather than just using the actual rudder. It doesn't seem to like that. So if I turn it all the way, it turns and then resets back to 0, so I'll have to figure that out. Okay, one thing we didn't do is turn on our taxi lights, which we can do now. And everything else can stay off. That's perfect. Right, let's go through before takeoff checklist. So, lights. Beacon is on, logo is on, taxi is on, landing lights should still be off, along with the strobe lights, because we'll turn those on as we enter the runway. Anti-ice not required. Flight attendants advised. TCAS will turn on once again. I'm trying to steer with my thumb. We'll turn the TCAS on as we enter the runway. Radar and terrain display can actually turn on if. Oh, in Flight Sim, neither radar is functional. Huh. Let's see. Yeah, it does say it's non-functional, so it's not very useful to us anyway. Right, check our caution advisory system. Nothing is there. So we are taking off on 03 left, so we're going to okay. Should we do full length? We might as well. Lindsay FN says bag 1. Welcome to the stream. Not entirely sure what that means. Means hello. Hello to you too. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the stream. We are just about to take off from Tambo on our way down to East London in South Africa in the Aerosoft CRJ. Right. Have I missed anything? All looks good for our. Yeah, this is my very first flight in the CRJ for Flight Sim 2020. So we shall see how it goes. I flew it quite a bit in FSX, obviously very different now. Looks great, feels great, sounds great so far, but we haven't got in the air yet. We will see in about 2 minutes how it handles in the air. But really excited. Obviously, this is a highly anticipated aircraft. We've been waiting for this for a long time for Flight Sim. And so far, Aerosoft has done a fantastic job, and I'm really impressed. So, I can see I'm going to be flying this quite a bit more. Well, I say that about every aircraft that I get. So, right, we are coming up to our holding point for the runway.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has advised that we are now cleared for takeoff. Please notice the cabin lights have been turned off, and this
cabin
is a
crew
normal
sounds
procedure for a nighttime takeoff.
Australian. Right, so something to remember. Kind of like the 737-200 we flew last time. This has no auto throttle, so we're going to manage the throttles all on our own for the entire flight. Right now, as we enter, let's do landing lights, strobes. I'll do the TCAS in a moment as I get on the runway. So TCAS down here, we should just set that to, oh, it is on altitude, so it will turn on once our wheels are off the ground, so we don't have to worry about that. Right, I think we are actually now ready to take off. We are actually rolling forward very slightly. I should have already done this though. Set 3 over there. And we are just about ready to go. Right, so let's go up to power. So there's climb, there's toga. Everything looks good so far. Don't know if this aircraft pulls out the V speed. So keep an eye on air speed. There's V1 rotating on its own. Okay, so it doesn't call out V speeds, but got it. Feels very smooth. Right, we can go gear up. I should have this car. feel very low. Yeah, let's bring the nose down a bit because we do want to speed up. It's a very different feeling flying an aircraft with the engines at the back. And I feel like they have actually captured that pretty well in this area. Never really got that sense that your power is at the back in the FSX version. But this one, it does feel so different. I can't really describe it. Let's start bringing the flaps up. We'll go back to flying out. Okay, there's 10,000 feet. These guys off. We'll go off. Well, sort out seatbelts and stuff now. Right, let's get the autopilot on. Can you give some advice on how I can convince my mom and dad to get Flight Sim? Oof, that's a tough one. Let's go into our speed hold here and let our aircraft manage our speed. We'll go up to the, I mean, we're above 10,000 feet, so we'll go up to 300. How to convince your mom and dad to get Flight Sim? I don't know, actually. I guess you'll have to, I mean, the only way I probably would have managed is to do one of those bargains where you say, it is fairly expensive. I would agree with you. Are you looking to play on PC or console? Because you could go through the Microsoft Store and pay the subscription, which is just a little bit per month. So that is one of the options. You don't have to pay the full amount up front. However, I'm not a huge fan of the Microsoft Store, so my best advice would be to make a bargain and say Christmas, birthday, whatever, all of those presents rolled into one, and you get Flight Sim. Say to your mom and dad, tell everyone in the family, all put together towards Flight Sim, and you get that as one big present. That's probably the only way it would have worked for me as well. Okay, we are also not following our FMS route, which is rather concerning. Yeah, that would be my best advice. Good luck. Hope you get it, because it really is cool if you're interested in aviation. Right, let's set this to standard, and let's figure out why we are not following our nav route. I did wonder, because it wasn't drawing the line there, it was going to be a bit strange. Yeah, I don't feel like I gave you the best advice, but I'm not really sure what else you can try. Hopefully that works. Let's do 170 heading. Let's see if we can get this. So there's means we want to go actually pretty much direct to Pushback. So see if we can intercept that now. So we can actually do 180 will be better for us here. I think we can actually follow our and it is set to FMS 1, right? Why does that say Cherokees? Just, oh, because that's the next one. And our TCAS says it's off, so I obviously missed something. It says on hold, but why does it say standby? Okay, I will have to double check. Oh, there. That's fine. No, but it was on auto, so that... Huh. Not sure that that's actually correct. That's something I'll have to double check, because it is on auto, so it should be on. Right. While we're actually climbing, let's see if it'll intercept our FMS course here. So it looks like it's going to. That'll take us out after. So what I do want to do is let's see what they say in the book about TCAS. Oh, that's what I missed. There's a selector here somewhere. This one. That's what I missed. Oops. Oh, look at that sunrise. It's very cool. Again, Microsoft Scenery Simulator does look amazing. This aircraft, so far, it wasn't too happy with our departure procedure for some reason, but other than that, let's make these displays a little bit less harsh on the retina. Other than it not following that departure, let's hope it actually picks up this nav course and we actually follow our planned route. But other than that, I'm really happy with it. It looks great. There's quite a lot of wind noise inside. You know what I didn't turn on? There's like wind sound inside. Oh, realistic that is. This game does it. It's really sound. Kelly, did you ever bargain with your parents? Take all of your presents to get you something that you really want. I've definitely done it. Dave, Petrus is resting because he's afraid of flying, so we've left Petrus behind, unfortunately. He worked really hard yesterday. The crowd was really tough on Petrus. He's taken it pretty hard, so giving him a day off. He doesn't have to fly with us, but we'll join Petrus again tomorrow. Sure. Okay, one thing I don't remember is the speed we should be doing for climb. Okay, so they climbed after... I'm just reading through the tutorial brief, which is... I actually had input from a real CRJ pilot. So they climbed at 290 knots after 10,000. I went to 300. And they maintained 300 knots once you reach cruise altitude. What Mach did they cruise at? That's what I want to know. So aim for approximately 74% N1 and a fuel flow of around 830 kgs per engine per hour. Mach 7.4, 0.74 looks about right though, which I think is what we're doing now. Now we are speeding up, so we can actually start throttling back. So 74% N1, a fuel flow of around 830. Geez, we're going to be nowhere near 830 on fuel flow at 70% N1. I mean, there's 830. It's not 890. Let's back off to about 830 and see what our end is. That's around there. It's just going all over. Okay, but we know, we're at still at 80% N1. We're at 700. It's dropping considerably. Right, we have intercepted our nav course, which is great. I'm not gonna then follow the figures. I'm gonna kind of do this. Right. Worked hard. Tetris was great, Dave. Stop hating. How's the plane going? The plane is great. The sim is Flight Sim. So I started my stream an hour late because I launched Flight Sim an hour before the stream. Tested everything, no problems. Did screenshots and stuff for thumbnails, no issues. Left it on because it takes forever to load. And then jumped into the sim. All I did was try and change the time and it just crashed. So I relaunched it again. It took 27.5 minutes to load into the main menu. And then, once it loaded into the main menu, my camera stopped working. I don't understand how that happens because my camera has nothing to do with Flight Sim. Close Flight Sim, camera works. Open Flight Sim, camera doesn't work. So I had to restart my entire system and then wait another half an hour for Flight Sim to load. So I was an hour late for the stream. But I persevered because I want to fly this plane because I think Aerosoft have done a great job. So these numbers seem to be quite far off. So they said 74% N1, which is about there. 76, but they said 74% N1 and 830. Oh, because they're cruising at 18,000 feet. Didn't see that part until now. That makes sense. Okay, so at 18,000 feet, we would burn significantly less fuel. Sorry, significantly more fuel. That's why we're burning so much less fuel. Okay, so we want to try and maintain around Mach 0.7, which is roughly, it's actually a little bit faster than what we're doing now. So our little purple bug is set to 0.74, so we want to keep that around there. No auto throttle, we're doing all of our throttle control manually on this end. Okay, that makes sense. I didn't see that their figures that they were using were for 18,000 feet cruise. That makes a lot of sense. I love to see your pilot texting and flying. I do my best. I'm trying to read comments. I'm trying to read my iPad to learn how to fly the plane. And we also got to manage speed because there's no autopilot. I don't like the wind sound, I'll be honest. The wind sound is a bit much. So, yeah, that's the one thing think, I mean, obviously I'm not a real pilot, but that doesn't sound entirely realistic to me. It just sounds very white noise, windy inside the cockpit. I would expect it to sound like that outside, for sure. But in here, I think it's just a little bit much. I wonder, I don't think we can adjust individual sounds, because I can explain you can change the sound of the different environmental. Can't actually do that. I do want ETA on there though, that'll be nice. That is. No, so I don't think we can actually change that sound, and I'm scared to open up Flight Sims menu in case it crashes and breaks. So we'll deal with the wind sound for now. I like the engine sound, the wind is just a bit strange. Now, in the last update, they were supposed to have added contrails. They don't always happen, obviously. The atmospheric conditions need to be correct. Do we have contrails? Hey, we do. Check it out. Why are they skewed? I guess maybe the wind would. That's pretty cool. So we at least have contrails now in the sim, which is awesome. All the other sims have got them. X-Planes look terrible. Old FSX, they're just like a flat 2D sprite. That looks pretty good. Right, this isn't a particularly long flight. Let's jump down here to progress. So we're estimating East London at 1 Zulu. What is our time now? That doesn't make sense. Oh, sorry, it's 56 minutes. So you have to get used to the CRJ-FMS is completely different to all the others. I keep going down here for the next and previous buttons, which on the Boeing and Airbus they're down here. On the CRJ they're at the top, and this isn't our Zulu time. This is actually flight time. So 55 minutes to East London. That's great. So I'm actually not working tomorrow, which means I'm going to be streaming during the day at some point tomorrow. Probably going to do some Call of the Wild, seeing as you guys love Petrus so much. We will see how it goes. Right, so we just passed Gerrards and we're turning left to Zara. Headphone cable is really annoying. Right, so far I really like the aircraft. I don't like the wind noise. That's a bit weird. The sim looks great. However, I can confirm that I've got way better frame rates in this complex aircraft than any other aircraft in Flight Sim, which is interesting. But it's a good sign. I mean, it does either mean that Aerosoft is just better at developing aircraft, or so goes bad. I don't know if we can go that far. But a huge issue that we had in other sims was you'd get decent frame rate with the stock aircraft, and then you buy a nice complex aircraft and your frame rate would just fall apart and you couldn't actually use this expensive plane that you bought. Almost knocked my water off the chest. Hopefully, if this is anything to go by, that's not going to be an issue, because as the aircraft get more complex in other sims, it really had a drastic effect on performance, and then it's super disappointing to go and spend $40 to $80 on a plane only to find out that you get 10 frames when you run the aircraft because the systems are so complex. However, this is running better than anything else in the game, so I'm super stoked about that. I'm also waffling on and not watching my airspeed. Okay, let's zoom our map out a little bit. Changing the whole thing like a baddie. We've got another discontinuity. Go into the legs of this. Oh, that's the vectors. Okay. I should just get it. It'll make our lives easier. Right, so we have a top of descent there. That's fine. So we do have a top of descent point. Oh geez, really losing speed. Bad. Very bad. Just take for granted now having a auto throttle, which wouldn't let that happen. I'm not used to concentrating on my speed. So I need to fly this and the 727, not the 737 200 more. Those don't have auto throttles. I'm not used to watching that. Which is strange because they're like, you know, if I'm flying one of the general aviation aircraft, they don't have auto throttles either, and I'm always looking there. It's just as soon as I'm in an airliner, I kind of take that for granted that it's going to manage that for you. So a bit of practice needed there. Oh, the other thing I was keen on streaming tomorrow was flying the Concorde again. That's also a possibility. We shall see how it... Alright, coming up to our next waypoint shortly. So that's where we want to keep our speed. So let's see if I can be a little bit more diligent with that. Having said that, I'm about to now switch over to looking at my iPad so I can get the weather for East London, because it does seem to be getting more cloudy as we head up this way. Let's quickly have a look and see. There's always a good chance that East London is grey and raining. Okay, East London is currently 19 degrees. Let's have a look at the meta for the airport. Show me. Right, so wind speeds 8 knots, 250 degrees, temperature 90. Don't see any clouds or precipitation, anything to concern us. So maybe a few clouds along the way, but nothing significant at the airport. So let's actually have a look at cloud. Yeah, so visibility, cloud-based, no issues around East London, no low clouds, but there are a few clouds along the way. So we're going to be flying over clouds pretty much all the way down to East London, which is what we see currently in front of us. But no weather issues at the airport itself, which is good. we can maybe start turning off some of these lights here now that the sun is up. It is kind of nice with these lights on. It's easier to see. And turn this on. I was actually supposed to turn the seatbelt on, but I think because it was on auto. Okay, so we don't have a star into East London. We are just going straight in for the ILS runway 29. So we're going to start having a look at what that exactly entails. Why it jumps to this side of the cockpit every time. But that's a flight sim thing, that's not the aircraft. Okay, so we are doing ILS runway 29. Okay, so we're going to intercept the ILS at 2,000 feet. Minimums is 587 feet. Dial that in closer to our top percent. And our runway heading is 2 feet. This approach climb to 4,000 feet. Runway heading to 3,000 or 6.5 near me. Left to the VOR and hold. Shouldn't be doing a missed approach. Mind you, actually with the new aircraft it is entirely possible that I get the approach completely wrong and we have to go around. Okay, so we're landing runway 29, which probably means we're going to vacate all the way at the end of the runway on Alpha and we'll taxi right back. It's a fairly simple arrival procedure. Let's have a look. Just see. So our missed approach is actually programmed in. And 77 ELI, where is that? It got us at above. That's perfect because that is the point. Cool, we need to be at, so they say above 2,000, that's fine, we'll be at 2,000 feet there. That's perfect for intercept our ILS. So because that altitude restriction is already in there, that means our top of descent calculation will work perfectly for this point. So we don't actually need to change anything in terms of altitude calculation. We do need to manage the speed. let's read through the rest of the tutorial just to make sure we haven't missed anything. Okay, so with our descent, when we start our descent, we need to descend at Mach 0.74, which is also what we should be cruising at, but I'm badly at actually maintaining that. Then, once we cross over from our Mach values, we'll stay at 290 knots. Passing 10,000 feet, we'll go down to 2. Okay, so I'm just bringing up our direct to page because that actually helps us with our vertical speed. So I know that in real life they don't really use the speed hold mode for descent, they use the vertical speed, and this is going to help us. So that's saying we want to leave Apmal and arrive at EDAX at 31,000 feet, we need to descend at 600, so we'll use this as a reference to help us set our correct descent speed, and it's going to keep changing, it's going to keep calculating it as we go. So that's going to be really helpful when we start our descent. That's all. Look at our progress page. Another 32 minutes. That's a calculation to our top of descent. Our top of descent is just after Etna, so it's about 15 minutes probably. Let's actually do our descent checklist. So landing elevation is set. Fuel. Fuel at East London 1.75. No, 1,070. So 1.07. And check that the pumps are switched on and the cross speed is switched off. That all looks good. TCAS as required. Radar. We would turn off for descent. I'm going to keep that on for descent. Okay. No ICAS messages. APU. That is open still. It's solved. Let's see that earlier. Landing data, we'll set that right as we start our descent. We'll set our speeds for landing. So approach brief, we've kind of spoken about already, but we'll go through the actual briefing. So we are landing runway 29. We're doing the ILS. Runway heading is 289 degrees, and the ILS frequency, we can actually set that now, is 109.9. So let's come here. So nav 1, dial that up to 109.9, like so. That's perfect. And our decision height, or decision altitude, is 587 feet. So we'll make sure that that is set to decision height, which it is, and we'll dial this. I actually see it. It should come up here somewhere. See that changing. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll double check that again when we're descending. Maybe that's a profile. Okay, and we will intercept the ILS at 2,000 feet. So we're flying straight to 77 ELI is the point. That's where we turn to intercept the ILS, and we need to be at 2,000 feet. At that point, we've already got that programmed into our legs page. 77 ELI to perfect. Okay, so descent and approach briefing complete. Don't mention anything about setting the decision. Nothing that I can find. So I wonder changing anyway, so we'll check that again later. A little bit fast. But we will double check that again when we start our descent. I can switch between such a kind of game, but change the value. Yep. There those clouds I was checking earlier. They shouldn't give us any issues. We're probably going to descend through them actually as we make our way into East London, but at the airport itself it should be clear for our okay, we're getting close to our top of the sensor. Alright, we need a QNH. This says QNH 10. Let's say stream's still picking up. We use 1016, that's fine. Winds 250 at 8. Ceiling visibility okay, temperature 19. Which matches what we were looking at earlier. So, changes, although that report is 2 hours old, so it could actually experience something fairly different. That's the most up-to-date report that I have. Okay, so descent checklist, we've done all of that. Oh, the course. We need to set our course to 280. Let's see that anyway. Oh, because we're still on FS, so we'll swap that over before we change that. See if we can do that. Of course, is 28. Doesn't actually give me a readout, but we'll get it pretty close. So 280 would be 289. 290, so that's probably okay. Right there. That less. Right, not far now from top of descent. be about 5 minutes or so. And about 20 minutes out from the airport. Starting to clear up. You seem to be thinning out a little bit there. It's more high level clouds coming up. But the ground looks fairly clear. We're going over there. Maybe we'll have some clouds to this. Slow. It's our outside wind line 275.37. Okay, so at our top of the sand, we're going to go into vertical speed. We will descend 600 feet per minute to start off. We'll keep watching that figure and keep adjusting our vertical speed. We are starting to speed up a little bit, so that's up a little bit more. It does seem that the clouds are clearing up closer to the airport, which is what we expected. Right, getting really close to our descent. Let's manage our speed a bit. Now we're Right, let's start our descent. So we're going to dial our altitude all the way down to 2000. This radio. Now I need to go in. Right, we'll go vertical speed. All the way down to 2,000 feet a minute. We want at the moment 2,200. So about where we are now. And we will start our descent into East London. Most of these, so we've got 2,200, 2,200. So we're pretty much going to stay at around 2,200 feet per minute descent. All the way down until we intercept the ILS, which is perfect. A little bit of cloud that we'll go through in a bit. We can also now come here and set our landing sequence. So it's perfect. So we'll set those speeds for our landing. Right, and we want to descend at 200 knots, not above 0.74. I feel like my vertical speed wheel isn't actually changing. It isn't. Oh, because you're not in vertical speed. Why am I in altitude? That little blue indicator there should move, indicate what vertical speed I've set us to. It isn't. You can see it over there though, but I'm sure that little blue indicator is supposed to move as well. Interesting. Alright, let's double check. 2,300 now, so we won't quite descend as fast as we should have been, so let's dial that in. 1016 is our altimeter for East London. We'll dial that in once we pass around 18,000. Actually, East London's transition altitude is 7,000. We'll do it then. Just keeping an eye on these vertical speeds. So that one's still showing, yeah, it's hovering around 2,300, so we'll leave it at that. That's fine now. Okay, so just managing my throttles. So that's gone down to 2,100. Let's push this up a little bit then. And that's mostly because I'm a little bit faster than I should. And once we get to around 13,000 feet, I'll start slowing down so that we don't exceed 250 knots below 10,000 feet. So that standard speed restriction. I don't know if we've flown into East London in Flight Simulator 2020 before. This is probably the first time. We've done it a couple of times in X-Plane. I don't think we've done it before in Flight Simulator 2020. So 7,000 feet, we'll change our UNH to 1016. Okay, it's going to flash and want us to change it now. I thought that might happen because I didn't change the transition before. FMC, so that's alright. Let's change it now. 1016. Actually looks like it could get quite bumpy, which is where we're going right now. So they were obviously right manual. The radar and don't work. I'm sure that's something that'll be added in the future. But for now, we don't have a working, which is interesting because the radars work in the default aircraft, so I thought it would be working off the bat, but clearly not. Obviously, there must have been some sort of limitation with that. Not really the end of the world. It's nice to have, but it's not. It's by no means essential. Let's put it that way. Coming up to 15,000 feet. We'll be paying attention to that altitude because we need to start slowing down around 13,000 feet. Make sure we don't bust that 250 knots. Okay, so now that we've crossed the navigation point, we can increase our rate of descent. Coming up to 13,000 feet, so I'm going to back the throttles right off. We can start slowing down. So we'll set our target speed to 245 just to give us a little bit of breathing room. Okay, we are not slowing down at all. So what I'm going to do is... Actually, I don't need to change this. I'm going to level us off at around 10,000 feet so we can slow down a bit. Yeah, I could just use the speed brake. Put in the speed brakes for now. That's going to help us bring the speed down. So probably won't need to level off here. And we're a couple of knots over. I don't think it's the end of the world. Especially since we're in a sim. And I did say it was probably going to get bumpy down here, and it does seem to be doing just that. I just want to slow my descent rate a bit because we are speeding up even on idle thrust. Thousand will be tuned. That's perfect. Now we are speeding. Speed brake again, just to control that speed. This little purple line actually shows you where you will hit the altitude that you've dialed into your autopilot. So that's actually very useful. So I can see we need to be at 2000 at that next waypoint. So we've got a little bit of space to play with. I can slow our descent rates a bit. And hopefully I can leave the speed brakes down. As long as that purple line is just before that waypoint, that's perfect. This feels like typical East London. Grey, it's gloomy. Yeah, so I'm just balancing my descent rate with my throttle to keep that line close to that waypoint. Because as we're slowing down and we're descending, getting into the thicker air, we get more drag on the aircraft, so that line pulls back, and we need obviously more thrust to combat the drag. What is our reference speed? 134. That's for our approach. I wanted to double check this precision. I don't see that value appearing anywhere. It's interesting. Range.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please remain seated until we have stopped.
Right, just approaching our 2,000 feet. Actually sync heading here. Right, we're coming up to that waypoint. That's where we're going to turn to intercept our Addons. So I'm going to start slowing us down, and we'll get flaps and such out. Let's double check. Approach check first. Our approach check. Altimeters 1016 set. APU is off. Lights and passenger signs as required. That's one thing we did forget. Ooh, that's bad. Didn't turn these on passing 10,000 feet. And we'll turn those on once we lower the gear. Okay, so little things that we need to pay more attention to. Right, so flaps 1, our limit is 230 knots. So let's go flaps 1. And so all the way up to flaps 20 is 230 knots. So we can actually put in flaps 8 as well before we make this turn. Get ready to hand fly this once we make this turn here and intercept our island. We keep it around 220 knots. See the airport out this way? Not quite yet. It should be there somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's a little bit further right. Okay, so let's see how it makes this turn. And then once we've gotten into the turn, we will intercept our ILS. Okay, that seems it has started the turn before the actual point. So it should help us be nice and smooth. Great. Our first speed was 130. Yes, I did overshoot the runway a little. Sync our heading here. Wave these dials. Yeah, we're going to start slowing down. We can bring the gear down. Go to the first. On the approach. Start slowing down to our approach speed. Okay, spoilers should be auto. That's perfect. Right. Okay, here we go for our first ever landing in the CRJ. So, landing checklist. Flight attendant advised, passenger signs on, thrust reversers are armed, landing gear down, and 3 greens. Check. And flaps 45 set indicating. Landing checklist complete. Ooh, we're a bit slow. That's our approach speed. Slightly below it. Yeah, let's disconnect the autopilot. We'll hand fly it into the runway. is a little bit bumpy here. Let's just triple check that our gear is down, and it is. We have 3 green lights. Very bumpy.
400.
Bit of a stutter in the sun there.
300.
A little bit low on the glide slope. Why is there no puppy line? Interesting.
$100.
100.
50. 40. 30. 20.
A bit of a float.
10.
Quite a lot of a float. But otherwise, pretty chill landing. It's quite windy actually. It's pretty bumpy on the. Not the greatest landing of all time,
Please
but
remain seated until the aircraft has
for
come
our
to a
very first landing, it is interesting having the engines on the tail because when you reduce
Please remain
thrust,
seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
well, when you actually change your thrust in any direction, really, it kind of pivots the aircraft because all of that power is at the back. It makes it pretty interesting to handle when you're making big power adjustments, and that's why I didn't want to pull the power back too quickly because I believe that would make the nose pitch up. And so I wanted to keep a bit of power on, and I just floated a little bit longer than I should have. Right, we'll just straighten out on this turn, and then we can sort out all of our lights. Flaps can come up, spoilers can come up, down should I say. Landing lights, taxi lights on, strobe lights off, logo and wing. We'll just taxi into the gate. What we should do is turn these guys off so they aren't simulated. Right, after landing checklist, let's start up the APU. Right, fast. Okay, so APU is powering up. Transponder we should set to standby. Standby, perfect. Lights, landing lights and strobes are off. Probe heats will now come off as well, which is here. Okay, that's the landing checklist complete. Cool. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to East London. Small little airport, close to where I actually grew up. Let's just double check that the last spoilers and everything. The plane really does look good. Really, really. So, a tiny little airport. Hopefully there's actually going to be a place to park. I think there's only like 3 gates here. In real life as well. Doesn't even have a parking chart on Navigraph, so I can't actually check. I think there are only like 3 gates. Don't actually remember if SA Express flew here. No, actually I think they did. No, Kalula does. Safair does. I don't think Mango does, but they might. That's not interesting. Right, so the gates are here at this end. Looks like there's some aircraft. Just park here because the first gate actually starts here. So there's no taxi lines going to the actual terminal. I think we'll just park here on the right of this King Air. So that looks good. I've got a lot of power on it. It doesn't want to move. Feels like quite a lot of power to get it going. In the FSX CRJ, even with the power off, it tends to accelerate. That's quite different. I'm not sure which one is actually realistic. I would imagine it wouldn't accelerate at idle power. But I also would imagine it wouldn't need as much power as I just had to put on to actually get it to move. Once again, not a real pilot. Certainly not a CRJ. Right. Let's switch everything off. So we'll ask them to place chocks for us. And then make sure the APU is running, which it is. Thrust levers can now come to shuttle. So we'll put this guy up, pull this guy back. Same with this one. The APU will now take over. It's going to shout a bit. Yeah, we can now turn the seatbelt signs off. Fuel pumps are off, which is these two here. What does that say on? Oh, not those, these ones. Okay, hydraulic 3A off. Beacon light can now come off. And taxi light. Also set the nose wheel steering back to off. Turn off the IRS. Bus levers are set to off. Emergency lights can now come off as well. Turn off all of these interior lights that we turned on. That can stay because that's the actual screens. These can come off. It's perfect. Windshield heats off. Emergency lights done. Windshield aft cargo switch set to off. Hydraulics can all come on. External lights we can turn off. In reality, we'd wait half an hour or so while the passengers get off, but we don't have any passengers, so I'm going to shut down the APU. Off, so DC service switch should be off, which it is. Battery master off. And we just want to continue switching everything off. Home lights, panel lights, boarding lights, that's all off. And that brings us to the end. And Flight Sim's crashed. Well, oh, there we go. It seems to have come back. There we are. We have arrived at East London Airport. And that brings us to the end of the stream. Once again, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in and watched. If you did enjoy the stream, be sure to hit subscribe so you can see more. Hit the notification button so that you will get a notification next time I go live, because I don't have a set schedule until I can do this more consistently. But at the moment, I'm just doing it around my work schedule, so I can't always predict when I'm going to go live. So if you want to know, hit the notification bell and YouTube will tell you. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all the support. You guys are awesome. And I will see you again tomorrow. Cheers.